There we go. Well, I'm joined by Barb Dempsey today in the Zoom. We're going to do a video today. Um, simply is talk about some things. A lot of people are distracted. A lot of people are talking. This person's saying this person's saying that, this person's saying this. So I want to smooth the table out because Barb's been with us for 5 years. She's been a good lady. She's committed herself to, helping her community, like the rest of us out there that are actually trying to do something to change the system till we have an accountable system. We're all going to go down the paths of the straw man, the common law, the courts, the constitutional lawyers. All this stuff are just learning curves for a lot of individuals to come to the realization that everything about Canada is a lie, everything about the United States is a lie, and the real power is the people. And the people are going to have to organize. They're going to have to get unified on a solution-based system to end the system that they created. Canada is going to crash, no matter how you look at it. They designed it to crash. The United States is going to crash too. But this is why it's important to understand the real power is the men and women in your local community. We're not going to stop a certain segment of society that wants to maintain their system. We're going to show the people that we can do a better job. And by the way, we can do this. We have never had a lawful agreement with the Corporation of Canada. And, Barb has worked in New Brunswick where many of their individuals were charged, harassed by the corporation police officers to maintain their system. And all these people had to go to court anyways. They were being forced into go to court. So they're using, they have no choice but to use their court system to go to court because that's the only system that's available to the slaves or to you and me. And the courts are designed for us to fail. So it's their way or we get locked up. So these great men and women have been out there, positioning what they would like to see the future to be. And a lot of people are negative because they're not grasping the true nature and that all of us have to go through a learning curve to get to where we're at now. I mean, I always said there's no law, there's no justice, there's no courts, and you're not going to fight them in their court system. They own it, they control it, they bought it, it's theirs. It's no different than the internet. A lot of people get on there and go, oh, Facebook's, doing this. No. Facebook's doing nothing. You're using their building. They built it. No different than the courtrooms. So you're always going to fail. And these judges do not work for you. They work for the Crown Corporation. So Barb, to the new viewers that don't know you, many people do know you, who you are. You want to explain to them your journey and where you come from and what you're looking forward to do in your local community. The floor is yours, Barb.
Thanks for having me, Dallas. And we did have a good conversation today, and to get me back in as well on track to all the distractions that have been around here, because we know what's hitting the fan now. And, with everything, the banks are going to collapse, or, our law system, we've seen that too. Yeah, I've been born and raised here in New Brunswick all my life. I'll be 63 in May, and I'm doing this primarily for my one and only grandson. And I want him to experience what I've heard that we can have, because I was raised in this tyranny as well, in this education system that looked okay at first, but now we see what's going on in our schools. We see what's going on in our medieval health system, keeping people out that don't have the jabs. I'm seeing people being harmed every day here, and trying to wake people up over these last 5 years, and especially during the pandemic. I've tried to wake and shake them, but they seem to be in sort of like a zombie type state where they don't want to believe you, but they do. That's too good to be true. I don't know how to do it. What do we do? But, there is power in numbers. And, I've learned a lot since, just initially learning that my birth certificate, that I was sold and, sold out like a slave the day I was born. And, my mother never knew the difference either. And I did the same thing to my children. But, I think once and if you do have even if it's not total critical thinking, if you have compassion for your family and you have a sense of what's right and wrong, then, what are you doing? It's time to, get this done, because we don't have much time left on the clock. So, like I said, was born and raised here, traveled all over this, beautiful nation, and all over, parts of the US, down to Hawaii, vacationing, and just thinking life was a breeze. And I can't do that anymore. I am not, I'm not going to take a vacation. I'm not going to take a shot that they tell me to take. And I'm not going to take a vacation until I know that I'm a free woman, free sovereign woman, able to travel about like we should be able to. But I'm really hoping that we, there are people waking up, and I'm hoping that we can get more and more in here. Like Dallas and I were discussing today, that even just 15%, if I had 15% of New Brunswick saying, yeah, we can do this, we can rebuild our nation to be what we hope and dream it to be. And, it's not this fairy tale, it's a marshmallow world that we live in, and it's a fact that dreams can come true if you really do, put your efforts and time into it effectively and find the solution and all work towards what it is.
Oh, I agree 100%. And that's, the journey for all of us has been destructive, harmful, and to get to where we have to get to the plateau, the differences between us all are very, very minute. And when I see when people come in and they say, well, we're going to do common law, take the court, go to judges and do the court cases, I say it's just a waste of time. And it frustrates them. It makes them angry that I say this to them. But after duration of, the reason I know this is I've been teaching common law and equity law and UCC for 30 years, and it failed us all. We tried everything 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and we found out the consequences of that. Back then, there was only a few of us. A lot of us got locked up for 10 years, 11 years in jail. And I was trying to stop them from making the mistakes that we made, getting our careers destroyed, being a whistleblower. And I felt, this is very important that they comprehend that they're going to stick their neck out and use this, try to fight them in their system. All you're going to do is put a red flag on your back, a target on your back, but that's okay. But if you do it in a lawful way, I always try to explain to people that you are the real government. You just forgot that you are the government. These people that you supposedly that you may not even selected these people, because anybody by now comprehends that there's no elections in the Corporation of Canada or the Corporation of the United States. It's just a total illusion of fraud. But more and more people are starting to comprehend that. And we still have a large proportion of the population that's looking for answers. They're terrified to go from their system to a system that's actually going to give them accountability, transparency, and they have to want it. And more and more people are waking up to that, to the illusions. So when people go in there and they lose these court cases through common law, or they go in there and they file these court cases through the Charter or the Bill of Rights, which go nowhere. The Crown Corporation is not going to give up their authority over you, the slave. And like Barb mentioned earlier, she found out how she was sold off as a child with a birth certificate. Our parents didn't know this. They were unaware of it, and they weren't uneducated. They didn't have the tools that we had, Barb, where we can actually communicate like we're communicating now. So as we move down the path, I hear all these distractions. I watched the thing a couple of days ago about Jordan Peterson jumping on there now that he's found God and natural law is the way to go. So he's going to lead us into natural law. No, he's not. This guy works for the United Nations. This guy talks good. He's funded by them. The way you always look at it is this: the globalists own the networks, they own the universities, and I always call the universities United Nations, right? United Nations educational system. It's educational system for you to become programmed into their learning ability. They'll stop us on every angle to get the truth out there, but you are the truth, and that's what I keep telling you. Some people say to me, well, you guys put a constitution together. No, we put a draft constitution together to look at. And by the way, when you read the draft constitution that the men and women across even the republics have put together, it's fantastic. So these are it's sort of like I look at people with the private memberships. People came to me, 2 years ago, 3 years ago with the private memberships. I looked at them. Well, yeah, that's fine. Create a private membership. But the corporation doesn't care what you create. They're here to destroy you. So you're better off opening up that platform, and nothing's private. And I always believe this. If it's private, it's done in secrecy, then it's not transparent. We're not like them. We need to speak fluently what we really want. What I want is to be left alone. What I want is my property. And I see a lot of people pushing propaganda about a Lodio title, selling a Lodio title. Oh, you give this piece of paper to the United Nations and you got your land? No, you don't. We have nothing. We're always going to have nothing until we want to take back what's ours. And what is ours? Men and women. And I see so many divisions and so many groups that all want the same thing. They all say they want the same thing. So we come together on what we really want. We want our liberty. And walking down the street going freedom, freedom, freedom is not the answer. Holding an event, holding a rally, great thing to bring people out. We need leaders in those rallies to speak the truth, the facts. And I've always said this from day one. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you. I want to be a free man. You want to be a free woman. Let's work together and explain to other people that we can do this. So when people go, well, you can't do it because, they're so organized. Yes, they are organized. The reason we have failed is we're all divided on our own agendas. When I look at the $50 million that Rocca Galati probably took from people, I estimate, 5 million here, 4 million here, 200,000, 800,000 for all these court cases, which were all intended to go nowhere. So people wasted all that money. That money could have been spent in their local community, their local town. And I've always said this: invest in yourself, your family, your friends, your community. And once you do that, everything else is going to come. You and I talked about the monetary system and your frustration with the monetary system. Do you want to elaborate what your frustration is about the monetary system?
Well, yeah, people are asking, what do we do now that the banks are collapsing? Do I, have silver? Do I collect gold right now? What will I do with it? And, I understand that we do need to create a different type of, trading, bartering system moving forward, but how is that going to be done?
Oh, no, I agree. So the way we looked at it was this. We have a lot of people pushing Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, et cetera, et cetera. Now, me being an IT specialist working in the industry for many years, I comprehend and understand how the internet works. A lot of people don't understand the internet. So it's sort of like our court systems we have in the Corporation of Canada. So it's their courtroom. It's their judge works for the Crown, the prosecution works for the Crown, and the defense lawyer works for the Crown. There's no one working for you. That's how the internet works. They built this infrastructure. They own it. And people go, oh, I can do encrypted, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. No, you can't. You know why? They own it. Nothing can pass their language. And people go, oh, we can do this, we can do this. Signal, all these programs that people think they have are all owned by them. Nothing can go through their kernel unless it's created by them. Nothing can pass their doors, their brick walls, unless they allow it. And that's why I really refrain from cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies can work at a local level with a token ring, which means locally, it goes around in circles. That's fine. We need to trade and barter. So we're looking at going from their old system of corruption to a system of accountability. It could take 2 years, take 3 years, to take 10 years, take 15 years. But like Barb says, we have a time lapse. We got to go quicker, faster, and smarter. So you can take all your money out of there's talk about opening up our own treasury branches, our sovereign banks, or our community banks, like the credit unions were supposed to be designed for, but the credit unions are selling us out too. So we build our own foundation, our local community. We set up what we want to do, a ledger or whatever we have to do. I got Amanda Vollmer coming in next week to do a presentation on the banking stuff that they're working on. Daniel Agassi's got some ideas that he's been working on. I'm going to be bringing him in. I want people to communicate, to talk, because one of us out there is not going to do it. Two of us is a start, 5, 10, 20, 30. And like Barb said, We feel confident, very confident now with our data. We know our areas, people signing up to our website for a subscription for just emails and that kind of stuff. We've noticed a huge drastic amount of people looking at what we're saying now. They went through all the trials and errors. But I want you to comprehend this. We, the people, have to do this. We have no choice. So the way I always position this, we can do a better job than them. And I think, Barb, you understand that. We're not out to kill you. We're not out to steal from you and rob you. And we want to restore law and order. That's pretty well simple facts. So Barb's out there in New Brunswick. You got an event coming up. When's your next event, Barb?
On Saturday from 2 to 4 in our King Square.
And okay, where's that, Barb? Tell people so they know.
Right in the middle of town, King Square. If you say King Square, St. John, they'll know.
Okay, King Square. So you've met POTUS out there, correct? POTUS?
Yeah, he's about 3 hours from me, though, in my province.
Yeah.
I've met him several times, yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I was watching a video with him when I was watching you that day out there, and you made your speech to everybody, and I commended you on that speech, and then I talked to quite a few other people, and it was like Druthers was there, and they were recording everything, and all of a sudden he got up and started speaking. He spoke for 15 minutes, and he was really giving some really good information, and Druthers just ran away, turned the camera right off, right? So I contacted him, and we talked on the phone for about 2 hours. We did a Zoom meeting, me and him, like just like you're doing, me and you are doing. And he said they do it all the time to him. They shut him down. They don't want him to speak. And I said, you know why they don't want you to speak? And he says, because I tell the truth. And the truth is, it's hard for people to imagine this, that everything they've been taught is a lie. And it's hard for them. I mean, I love what we thought. I mean, you grew up in the Corporation of Canada. You love Canada. Around the world, Canada was respected as a great nation for prosperity, a future, a safe haven, to leave war-torn nations to come here and build your future. We all thought that, but we have to comprehend the facts. It was part of their globalist plan, division, distractions, mass immigration is also another division of the people. But really, all these people that have migrated here were forced here. No different than the Irish slaves, Scottish slaves, the British slaves. They were forced out. Only 2% of Scotland is Scottish. They were exterminated by the British Empire, the globalization. And people can't fathom that. You know why? Because their history books didn't tell them that. So, you know, there was 100,000 British boys and girls from the age of 4 years old to 7 years old that were shipped over to North America and dropped off as slaves. 2 million Irish little children were brought over. Same as the bull crap about Australia, the kind of Australia, that was all the criminals were sent down there. No, they weren't. The displacement of the people of all of the villages, tribes, clans were all wiped out. And when they got to North America, it did the same thing we're living here. There was 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 different tribes and villages and whatever you want to call them, communities. Okay, they were decimated. You only hear about the stories they tell you about. They always talk about the Iroquois and the Mohawk, because the Iroquois joined with the French and the Mohawk joined with the British, right? Or vice versa. No big deal. This is what they tell you. But logically, we all know these are lies. You know, I met with a native gentleman in New Jersey about 2 months ago. You can go watch the video. Very good. Totally different history. So we know the history's been manipulated. So what do we do about it now? Well, let's create our own history. Our history, how we educated the individual men and women, that we can do a better job. There's no race. There's no color. We all want the same thing for our family. We want our children to grow up with accountability, protection, property rights, a freedom, liberty. We want them to prosper. The only people stopping us from acquiring those dreams are other people that don't want to get involved. There's many out there that want to get involved, but they're sidetracked. And I've always said this. If you could spend the rest of your life sharing Bill C-31, undrip, etc., etc., etc. All these devices they create division, put you on an agenda. I'm going to fight the teachers union for firing me. I'm going to fight the medical board for firing me. I'm going to fight this. 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 Okay, stop. We have one enemy. It's their system they designed. We stop fighting all the little battles and go for the juggler. The juggler is their system. Does that make sense, Barb?
Total sense.
Yeah.
And, I think if it can people will just stop and listen instead of, like you said, running like a chicken with their head cut off in every other direction, that they could, get a handle of this. And, even though I'm going to go and speak, I believe there'll be many there that say, okay, it is time because of the day that we're living in. But, should the ones that do, like you said, want to go and continue to live for that corrupt system, I believe even they will be really very remorseful when they, say, God, I need to be on the other side of this, piece of history that we're going to create.
Well, I think it's by example. So once we move forward, we are moving forward. A lot of people are waking up. Like I said, we're saying we're being modest by saying 12% are starting to question Canada, question the world, question a lot of things. Those 12% are the leaders. And I'm sorry to say this, or the organizers. Nothing will ever happen until you step up to the plate. And you're not leading. What you're doing is you're becoming a leader in your local community, saying, no, I have a better plan. I think you should look at what I'm trying to say to you. And then I want you to be a leader in your local community. And the draft constitution that the great men and women put up, it's part 1 to 8. You read it, it's just common sense and critical thinking. You are the government. And there is no federal election. There's no provincial election. A lot of people think they're going to infiltrate these big corporations. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. They control the monetary system. They control the media. And most importantly, they control the algorithm on the internet. So you have to do it smarter, better, and most importantly, organize your local community. It's your local community. So if you've got 10 people standing there and they're making speeches that day, they got to come out and say the right words. Okay, we've tried everything. We tried their voting, failed. We tried petitions, failed. We tried phoning our MLAs, failure. We tried writing letters to MPs and MLAs, failed. We've contacted the local RCMP to have these people investigated, failed. If everything's failing, are you going to keep doing the same thing over and over, repeating history for failure? Or are you going to stop, sit down and say, okay, what I did was I put a box up there years ago. Talking to my local city council member, failed. Talking to this person, failed. Talking to this person, failed. This worked. I like that idea. That brought people together. We need to bring a large proportion of the people together on the solution. And the solution is them. They are the true government. These elected people are not your government. If your government is trying to kill you, the contract is broken. What do you think, Barb?
100%. Yeah, well said. And this constitution that each province has written, it's like you said, it's a draft, and it took us 3 years, to get that together. And we just need the majority of the people to, look at it and, weigh in on how they'd like their law system to look like, their education system, etc. And then we just proceed with our constitution, because we've never had one. We've never had a constitution. So ours does look really good, Dallas.
I know it does. And but I look back at 1992, right? And when the UN Agenda 21 started the Sustainable Development, they entered all the larger cities. And they entered, smaller, the large cities, and then eventually moved into the rural, smaller cities like 15,000, 20,000 people. They slowly brought their parasites in, and people say, what are parasites? Well, I call them parasites because these people don't work for you. They're sucking the life out of you. They brought them in slowly. They positioned them in the community to be very honorable. And they funded them very well. They made them look really good. I'm here for the community. But they weren't. They were there for an agenda to promote themselves, to become the mayors and city council members, And then they started slowly removing your property rights, creating bylaws to harm you, etc., etc. So they actually incorporated your cities into sustainable development. So your local community has to remove themselves, unincorporate, very simple plan, because you, the people, the real power. The battle's not, see, a lot of people, see, the idea of controlled opposition is to make you believe you got to target Fauci, Trudeau, make-believe things, the WEF, the IMF, all these things do exist. But they don't have the power at the local level. They've got the power through the monetary system, but that's the only power they got right now. The rest is all fiction. So we, at a local level, have to work on a monetary system, a barter system. People are going to have to forget their old ways of corruption and look at the big plan. If we do not defeat their plan, we all die. Wow. So that should get us on the front page working together. And if that can't get us working together, then that person's not really paying attention. I don't even talk to him anymore. I move forward and say, listen, I'm going to throw you a life raft, or I'll throw you a buoy. And when you catch up, you're always welcome to join us, but we're going to plow forward because my grandchildren need it. And your grandchildren need it too. We understand the fear you have. You got to put the fear down. They're more, I mean, they're murdering people economically, physically, mentally. We're not asking you to join us. We're not asking you. You don't have to. You can continue down the path of destruction. Eventually, you're going to find the truth, and you're going to say, okay, well, how did I miss that? And you're going to be welcome aboard with us. And that's the way we look at it. I mean, even 5 months ago, 8 months ago, Cal Washington and me, we had a heated discussion. 2 years ago, we had a heated discussion about the common law he was pushing. Let's get off the common law nonsense. There's no courts. It's good to know how we got here, how we got enslaved, but now let's get out of enslavement. So wasting time to become a lawyer, that's what you're doing. By the time you study common law like I did for 10, 15 years, I know the insides, outs, and the names, human beings, a monster can't own lands, indigenous people mean aboriginal, abnormal. Those are words they created to ensure that you're never going to get your true prosperity, your true future. We create our own dictionary. It's our way or the highway. We're going to build the highway together, and other people are going to like our highway a lot better. They're not being murdered. They're not being robbed and pillaged. That would be a good thing right away, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and we've got, I don't have all the answers, and I don't know I'm going to create this or how it's going to be created, but each person has their own, forte, and they're going to be the ones to step in here. And it's like Dallas has been saying that, we are smart enough to do this better than what they've done. I believe that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's so, to me, it's like logical. And I see a lot of people wasting time and money and efforts, Jane Sharf, she came in, 4 years ago with the Burlington mayor thing, arrest the mayor, blah, blah, blah. Did I support her? I said, we'll support you. But when you lose, which you will lose, because there is no law, there is no justice, and there's no courts, and they'll arrest you. Then jump on with the solution. The solution's us working on a better plan. And after that, she jumped to the Bill of Rights. And I always get a kick out of that one, the Bill of Rights. And then I listened to, we had actually 5 of our members. I couldn't go to the two Peckfords thing, right? But Mike Hayes went, and a few others went to it, right? And I said I couldn't make it as another event. And I felt, confident, that I had great people going there that could speak what I'm speaking about, because I work with them, right? And they went there and they asked Peckford some very important questions. Like Peckford, so you were there in 1982 when the Charter and Rights and Freedoms was created, yeah. So then Mike Hayes asked a simple question: how come the Queen of England didn't sign it? Oh, well, he mumbled, he couldn't answer the question, which he didn't sign it because she knew it was fraud. Secondly, was that failed, and then they went to Meeting Accord, which failed, and then Charter Accord, which failed. They've never had the lawful right to govern us. And that's important for people to comprehend this. And under this current system, people should be questioning Yeah, what the heck's going on here? But I want people to really comprehend this. We can do it. You and I together, combined efforts. So when you go to these rallies, all these convoys, hanging a flag over a building means nothing. You know why? You got to communicate with your brothers and your sisters and your family and your community side by side and say, listen, it's a meeting. You're not going to accomplish nothing standing out there in the cold of -40 on the side of the road. Without communication, without a direction, without a plan. The Bilderberg Group had a plan. They were all committed, and they all know the outcome of their plan: extermination of us. So now we have a plan. Our plan is really good. We want to restore law and order. We want to bring back property rights. We want to bring back the property rights to yourself as an individual. We want to create a contract between each other to agree upon a contract. It can be verbally. It could be an affirmation. It's up to you what you feel in your community. And I think anybody that knows how to do contracts, it's pretty simple. You hire a carpenter, you hire contractors to come to do jobs, you sign a contract. X amount of dollars for the project. There we go. Any problems that arise, you readjust it, etc., etc. That's what we're doing. We're building a project, putting it together, and when that project gets going, yes, there's going to be issues. Yes, there's going to be problems, but we're going to collectively sit down, agree, work them out, and say, okay, that worked. No, that didn't work. We'll change it. When things don't work, you change it. And that's the most important thing. We, as individuals, are the sovereign men and women. And a lot of people go, oh, I don't like the word sovereignty. Oh, why not? You don't want to be sovereign? They don't understand what sovereign means. It means free, intellectual man or woman following guidelines not to harm others, not to bring harm to others, and to teach not to bring harm. The mentality is so close to the heart of everybody, they should see that clearly. And I mean, I watched people, I knew they had to go through the rabbit holes. I knew they had to go down this path to get to where they wanted to find the truth. And now it's time to stop regurgitating and start doing.
Yeah,
That's my message.
the only reason they don't understand sovereignty is because they've been a slave for too long. And first off, when you say man and woman, I mean, didn't you know there's 72 different genders? So they wouldn't understand what we're trying to do. They've been indoctrinated. They've gone cuckoo, far left, have totally gone insane. And I don't know if I'm saying I don't know, these injections that they've been given has driven them over the edge like lemmings. They're jumping the cliff.
Yeah.
That's
Well, no, I agree with you. So when I remember, I'm so glad where I was born and I was raised. Seriously, I didn't go to school. School was a waste of time for me as far as I was concerned. I mean, I needed to learn English and math and sciences, but I even questioned a lot of the sciences that I was learning, right, and that kind of stuff. But I was willing to learn, to listen, and study their books. And as I progressed, I went, okay, there's something wrong here. And I pulled away from their school system. I dropped out, and I said, no, I'm wasting my life going to school. I mean, this is just nonsense. And then I realized many years later that I need to get that grade 12, and so I can get a career, because you need grade 12, to do anything, right? So I went back to school, got my grade 12. It took me about 2 years to get my grade 12. I went from grade 9 to grade 12 in 2 years, but it wasn't very hard for me. Like, I was good at math, I was good at English, and I could write good. English was actually my poorest subject. Mathematics, I 100% every test, right? So, but English was my poorest subject. And I spoke really fast when I was young because I was hyperactive, which is great. It kept me alive for many years because I could outrun everybody else and hunt and that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed it. But the thing was, there's a reason why children shouldn't be locked up in prison. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So I'll tell you a story. I was young, and when I went to prison, which was called elementary school, I lasted 1 day in elementary school. My grandfather had to come and get me. The teacher told me to have a nap and some milk and cookie at 10:30 in the morning. And I said, 10:30 in the morning, I'm having a nap. I said, no, I got chickens to do. I got stuff to do in the farm, and I got things to do all day. I don't go have a nap at 10:30 in the morning. I get up at 5 and go out with my grandpa, and 7 o'clock I'm doing this, and 8 o'clock I'm doing this. And then I have my lunch at 12. And then I go back outside and I do whatever I want, play with my dogs, and that's my life. This is insane. This is insane. So my grandfather came and got me on my first day of kindergarten because I wouldn't have a nap, and I was very outspoken. And one of the things that is, I went to the washroom by myself, and I came back, and the teacher asked where I went to. I said, I went to the washroom. She said, you have to ask permission to go to the washroom. I said, what? I have to ask permission to go to the washroom? Yeah, you got to put your hand up. I said, I don't put my hand up at home. Why would I put my hand up here? I'm responsible. I'm accountable. And by the way, I don't even know why I'm here. I can already read and write. I can read. I can count to 100. I can do pluses and minuses. I'm learning my times tables. And most of these people in this classroom don't even know the alphabet yet. So I'm in the wrong school. And you're not holding me back from having fun. Tell me what I need to get done, and I'll go do my thing. So I left. My grandfather laughed at me when he picked me up, and he said, I thought you might last the one day, but he said, I never thought I'd have to come and get you at 11 o'clock. You surprised me each day. He said, you figured it out. I said, yeah, I figured it out. Many other students figured it out, and I used to skip out 265 days a year. And in grade 8, grade 8 in Parkland Central, Parkland School in Cranbrook, they asked me. I showed up, I was gone. I missed 265 days of the year and had to write the final exam. And my teacher says, you're going to fail. You haven't even showed up all year long. I said, all I have to do is get 80% to pass, right? He says, yeah. I said, I'll get 100% on the test. No, you won't. And I said, yeah, I will. Actually, I'll mark a few wrong so I don't look really good. So I went in there and wrote the test, and I could have got 100%. I knocked off all 4 questions off, make them look stupid, right? And I got called in by the principal that I cheated on the final exam. And I said, I didn't cheat. He said, what do you mean? I said, I just memorized it all. What do you mean memorize? I have a photographic memory. Really? I said, yeah, I just memorized everything. I knew exactly what you wanted for each question. And they're all multiple choice. You got A, B, C, D, and E. 2 are stupid and 2 are correct. I look at both of them. Okay, I got it. It's not rocket science. It's all programming. It's all your indoctrination. I'll get 100% on all your tests because I'm going to answer the questions just the way you want me to answer them.
Right.
Like that. And he asked me, he said, you memorized? I said, yeah. He passed me. You know why he passed me? I showed him. I said, I'll tell you how I figured it out. Every single one of your tests are always the same. You're too lazy to figure out to change the wordings. It was A, B, C, D, A, B. I memorized all their tests. It took me about an hour and a half. And by the way, I taught to 4 other people, my friends in the school. And they went in there, and I told them all to not mark a few wrong so they look like geniuses. And they all passed it. So when we have a system designed to make your children memorize what they want you fail. I want children to not to go to prison. I want them to stay home till they're 13, 14 years old, till they've got their education from the best 2 people in their lives, their parents, their mother and father, their grandparents, their uncles and aunts, where they have a foundation. Taking a child and locking them up in a prison at 5 years old, and then making them sit there all day long from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock. What a crime against humanity. What a crime against our children. These indoctrinations are the same indoctrinations that the controlled opposition uses well. I mean, I talked about what do you call Peterson, Jordan Peterson. Well, Jordan Peterson is part of the globalist system. He was, in Harvard as a university. I published you his videos. You can go watch his 1996 videos, and you look at what he was doing. He was taking the man that was on the masculine man and moving him towards the middle, to the middle. So eventually he would be turning to the left. Years ago, it used to be the pendulum used to be like this, right? So you're far right, which people call conservative, and then you got far left, which is the people that don't have that want communism. Okay, communism, and then capitalism. So they've taken capitalism, they moved it here, right? And now you got capitalism here, and then you got the left here. But now it's worse. You've got it's one like this now. The left is down here, and the capitalists are here. And if you turn it around, it means you're a loser. But they don't understand this. The right and left paradigms, the voting, and you know, giving your representation to somebody else. As soon as you check that box, you just called yourself an idiot. You're no longer allowed to speak for yourself. You can't represent yourself because you've given all your authority to somebody else. And they don't think about it logically. It's called consent. They make it look good. I'm going to represent you. I'm going to do exactly as you tell them. I'm going to work for your community. But as soon as they get elected, they do a complete reverse and they stab you in the back. They're drowning your grandson in the pool out back. They're shooting your dog. And then when they're all done that, they're going to come eat your food out of your kitchen sink, out of your fridge. That's their system.
Well, we sure have been bowled over for sure. You know, I see this clear, you know, as a bell, what we're talking about today. I've seen it, you know, for a few years now and wondered how we could get to it and get doing it. And, you know, there's always day one. And if you know, fall down, you know, get back up tomorrow and start again. But we do need to really put the pedal to the metal and really commit ourselves to doing this together, because we can't do it alone.
Well, you've got a great group out there. I see your rallies, your events. You know, last month ago, I watched one of your events, and all these great people got thrown in jail, got arrested, got harmed by their system. And you've all learned the same thing. There's no law. So eventually you got to say, okay, we're not going to win. We're not going to win fighting in their system. And that's the hardest thing to understand and comprehend is, wow, what do we do now? A lot of people are frustrated. People are worried. They have fear. We don't have time for fear. We have time to worry. Don't worry about that. But we need to get collectively organized and present the information. What do we all want? So all these groups, I'm asking you, if we want a future, the 12% out there that are questioning, talk to the 25% or the 45% that are sitting on the fence right now that don't know what to do. And don't get distracted. The power, you have to comprehend this. Absolute power absolutely corrupts. Remember this. Absolutely. We need to put the power to the individual, the local community, create a contract so he can never be harmed by unalienable rights, not alive rights, but unalienable. Can't be removed by force, by effect, by anything. They're there. Creator give you those rights. Start there, and other individuals will want the same thing. 5, 10, 20, 50, 100. When you're meeting people, speak what's important to them. Liberty, prosperity, and a future. Accountability should be our number one. There's nothing accountable in their system. We're going to return accountability. How are we going to do that? By working together. So each town is the authority. Each village is the authority. Each county is the authority. The provincial governments are frauds and illusions. The federal governments are frauds and illusions. The power resides in the local community. You clean up your backyard, block by block by block. And if people don't want to join right now, when they see you prospering, when they see you having a future, and they're like, wow, I want to join. I want to go with them. That's a way better path. I like the fact that they want to go swimming at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I like the fact that they're not burning down my house. I like the fact they're not sending Gestapo to me to steal me and rob for me traveling around, etc., etc. It's such a simple plan. The old way was destructive. The path in front of us is what we want to build. We can build anything we want, like Barb mentioned earlier, dreams. Dreams are important. And I think our society is falling apart because they forgot the dreams. My dream when I was 16 was to get a driver's license. You know why? Because I'm going to get that vehicle. I already had my vehicle bought when I was 14. I already had it bought. You know why? Because I was anticipating for that day, but I was driving when I was 14 and 15 years old. But then now I can drive legally at 16, but that's okay. But what I'm trying to say is dreams. I dream for a day when all my friends and family and the people I don't even know are prospering. together. That's what I dream for. When they put down this illusion, and people say, well, you guys want communism. We don't want communism. No, we want protection. We want a future. Everybody's still going to have to work. You're going to have to go out there and do your gardens. You're still going to have to grow stuff. You're still going to have to do stuff. But just imagine, whatever you build is going to be passed on to your next generation to prosper, to build better. I see a day when you're only going to have to work 3 or 4 days a month. That's it. Honestly, we can build every community to be self-sufficient. When I talk about the truckers aren't heroes. No better than the trains aren't heroes. And it's hard for people to comprehend that. You know why? At one time, every community was self-sufficient. I'll give you an example. My town had a sawmill. My town had 15 dairy farms. My town had about 40 or 50 or 200 orchards of people growing fruit and vegetables. My grandfather did the same thing. Wow. We didn't have to have truckers bring our stuff to us. The trucker mentality was created by the globalists. The Teamsters were created by the globalists. Hoffa was created by the globalists. You know, unions were created by them. And we had a lady in last night did a fantastic presentation on the unions. I remember when me and Critical Thinker went to the Unifor stuff with the co-op there. They're doing the great big thing in Saskatchewan. They're shutting down everything. And I asked the people there, I said, it's not about your pensions. They said, what do you mean? Have you read the contract? No, our union hall members tell us what's going on. Well, here, I read it off to them. And the union hall representatives were there. They got mad because I read off what this contract really meant. They're going to just replace you, get rid of you. You're going to be down the road. And that's the way it's going to be. You're not going to get a pension. You're not going to get a job. They didn't know that because the unions don't work for you. Well, last night was a great presentation. I hope you guys watch it. It's about the medical industry of our nurses, how they've been destroyed. So all these mechanisms, they're destroying us, Barb, on every single level. And
Yes.
I hear people talk, you know, people get mad and they go, well, you're against common law. No, I'm not against law. I'm against trying to stop you from wasting 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 months on court cases that aren't going to go anywhere, and they're not going to go anywhere. Until we have a lawful system of our own courts by grand juries of we the people, we're never going to get accountability. Do you think the globalists are going to give up their court systems? Their courts have protected their lie, their theft, their robbery. It's a big industry. The prison industry is a big industry, and they get compensated for it by putting good men and women in jail for pot. Jails don't save people. Jails create money for them by the slave dollar. The courts, the same thing. It's just a joke. And by the way, if you can't represent yourself in court because you can't understand the language, that should be enough indication that the laws they created are not for men and women. And I've always said this. In 1666, the king created the British common law, and they did. They created it. They want you regurgitating their creation, their books, their path, their indoctrination, which they know that they can manipulate it, they can change it. And by the way, they use precedent. Most powerful thing in the world. And it's based on Roman law. So even if you're right 100%, they'll bring on Roman law and say, no, Roman law, this is the highest law. They have every single corner. It's sort of like the NHL. You know, it's fixed. It's all about money. You know, it's like the Simpsons were predicting who's going to win the Super Bowl. Wow. Are they geniuses? No, they're not geniuses. They already know what they're going to do. So we as individuals know exactly what we're going to do. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm removing myself from the corporation. I understand that I'm harming myself doing this because I need their monetary system, which just cripples me for my pensions and such, and you probably too. But lawfully and organized, we're going to have to create a monetary system, a barter system that benefits us all. We have no choice. So a lot of people go, how are you going to do it? Well, we're going to do it together. Put down our small differences. There's lots of good talking. If you got ideas about a monetary system, I want to hear them. I want you to present them. We do, like I said, we're doing meetings Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you want to come in on a Saturday to do a meeting on what you got for plans or ideas, we need communication. We need people to give ideas, and we need more men and women committed. Quit making videos about the fall of the cabal. Quit sharing the fall of the cabal. The more you watch their propaganda, the distractions, the more they keep stabbing us in the back. Eventually, it's time to protect each other's backs and work together. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's a good message. And they've already told us what they were going to do by depopulation.
Yeah.
They've already told us, you know, that they were going to educate our kids in these universities, and then in schools, like you say. What does a little tyke have to go to school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for? But it's a glorified babysitter, where our children are, you know, now being taught, you know, the critical race theory and all kinds of evil things that mess with their minds. They never come out the same. And, you know, I've got my 7-year-old grandson, you know, wondering, mommy or nanny, and, you know, what's going on with, why does he think he's a girl? And, you know, hey, and you're not allowed to question this stuff. And you're right about questioning science. Growing up, you know, that's what science is, always being questioned. Is this really science? There's fake science, there's junk science. What I call it is Frankenstein science out there. And you know something? We can do this. You know, we're smarter than those birds by all means.
Well, we had a professor named Tony Hall on about a month ago, and he came in and did a presentation. You haven't seen the video, you got to watch Tony Hall. And he was teaching in the University of Lethbridge about sustainable development, globalization, a lot of these negative things that are harming us, right? And he was very outspoken about a lot of this stuff, and he wouldn't go along with the curriculum. Then the lady Monica spoke up and says, you know, what if everything's a lie? And she got 8 months in jail. We're hoping to have Monica on here the next couple of weeks here to do a presentation. But we'll have it. But the thing is, when we have university professors questioning their objectives, parents need to become parents. And the parents, your children are your property. The corporation owns nothing. You allow it to own you, then we're enslaved. So I feel confident that once people structure their community and walk away from their system by building a better system, their system's collapsing anyways. So we take whatever we got from their system, build our own system. We'll hire our own police force. Protection will all become deputized. Every man and woman becomes deputized. Their voting system's a joke. You can't vote till you're 19 in BC. You can't vote till you're 18 in Alberta. You can't vote till you're 21 in Montana. Are people insane? Are they insane? You were born a man and woman. That's the bottom line. There's no difference between me and you and anybody else. The racial differences are nonsense. We talk about UNDRIP. Let's talk about UNDRIP a little bit here. So Universal Declaration for Indigenous People. Indigenous people. Now we got all these people running on, I'm Indigenous, I'm Indigenous, I'm Indigenous. No, you're not. You're a man or a woman. Indigenous people cannot own land. Then we have people that are misled, thinking that the Indians on the originals are going to get the land. No, they're not. It's a UN charter. So like the UN, United Nations Charter and Rights and Freedoms for the Corporation of Canada, not for you. It's sort of like the Bill of Rights is recognized by Canada. Recognized by Canada. What does that mean by recognized? Nothing. Zero. And by the way, it was recognized by Canada. It was never put into any of the provinces. People don't know that. I had a guy come to me, you know, I can't remember his name there, from Alberta here. Primo or something. Oh, we're going to use the 1972 Bill of Rights in Alberta. What rights in Alberta? The Corporation of Alberta, Queen's Bench, Bill of Rights? Yeah. The same parasites that have told you that they're going to kill you are now going to stop killing us. This is why I get so frustrated with people when they don't really comprehend it. And then you have great people out there like you and myself and many others that are going, there is no law, there's no justice. We showed you. I mean, I talked to It was he's Asman board of directors. I have his name here. I'll get his name in a second here, but off and on for 2 years. And I said, well, go do your court trials and do what you want. Get a hold of me when you want to get to the solution. So, well, what do you mean the solution? I said, well, go waste your time. I'm not here to waste my time. When you have to go through all these trial and errors and lose every court case. So he phoned me up. It was Glenn Bogue phoned me up about 2 months ago. Another friend it was from the tribe out there phoned me up. It's okay. What do we do?
We're ready.
Told you a long time ago. Quit wasting your time. You lost last 30 cases. Yep. Well, we lose them, and then people learn that we don't have any courts. Well, after 7,625,000,000 court cases that have all lost, you think maybe we should figure out a new plan? The plan is us. If we want a future, we're going to have to restore law and order. And that's the bottom line. We're going to do it lawfully. We're going to do it collectively, and we're going to do it smart by building a better system for everybody. And if people don't want that dream, then I have to question what they want in life. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you what you want. So the great men and women from the republics and around the world have looked at the Constitution they put together. It's part 1 to 8. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'll have it up on the website, but you can go to our Rumble channel. It used to be We the People Constitutional Conventions or Constitutional Conventions on Rumble. Yeah, there's lots of places. We have We the People on Facebook, We the People Constitutional Conventions on Facebook. There's one for each of the provinces. Remember, the borders are fiction. The U.S. border is fiction. We all are free men and women. We don't need to ask authority to travel. We don't need visas to go to other nations. Those other nations are also under the same lies and disguise of the corporations. All men and women want is a future. We can build the future together, or we can continue down the path of destruction. I hope you choose the path of a future. I'm not asking you how to get there. I'm willing to commit myself with you to get us all there together. And that's all I'm trying to say to people. Yeah.
It's good. That's good. And I choose, I choose life. Even, the creator said, choose life or death, and they are giving us death. And, we were designed, to heal ourselves, and our bodies were designed that way. And yet with everything that they're throwing at us in the skies, to our injections, to, this has been their plan all along to do this. And I want to be able to be a person to say, I don't give you consent to do that. And you do not have, autonomy over my body. And, that's been going on for a long time now, since I found out this evil agenda. And we can do this together. It doesn't take, rocket scientists. As a matter of fact, rocket scientists are just a little on, I don't know. And many scientists. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me, Dallas.
Yeah. So when can you just announce your date for your next presentation coming up?
Yeah, so that is on the 18th of March, 2 to 4 in St. John, New Brunswick, King Square. Excellent. And there's going to be a huge rally up there, lots to discuss. And I will be there. I will be there. I have some time, and I will be talking about the constitutional conventions, and that's the solution that we need to do and go for.
Well, if you're there, do me a favor. Get that PUDIS to come up there, and somebody please give me a good live on PUDIS speaking, because Druthers ran away last time. They don't want his message out there. He had some real good information, and I need these individuals that have real good hearts. And a lot of people believe that there's a division. There's no division. There's a division with distractions, but at the end of the day, we have to come together. Well, thanks, Barb. It's been awesome, and guess what? We're gonna do this again.
I will urge them to get on these calls too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Every day.
Every day. Okay. Have a good day.